Hello and welcome to a new market update. The last update, it's been a while or a few days, it's not that long, a few days, and in this update we will discuss the latest moves and what could happen or happened in the past or it could happen in the future. We move over the fundamental side of some currencies, and we start with the dollar. The dollar is doing nothing. Nothing. I wouldn't say nothing, but it's more like a consolidation since Monday. So this is last Monday. So like 1 week consolidation. So nothing happened at the moment. We saw this gap over here, which got most likely filled. Still see the 4-hour demand down here. Still marked up the Ganbox tool, the 50% level, some liquidity in the impulse to the upside, which I would prefer to go in the 50%, to take liquidity one time or maybe second time, and then moving up again, um, because we have clean demands, which moves the markets. Like we got this big demand here. We tapped in it, tapped in it, tapped in it, and moved up. Now we got this demand, and I think we could tap in it. The question is, do we want to go further up to fill the gap completely, or to, yeah, maybe take out some highs over here? That's the question. The fundamental side of the dollar is the US dollar is still supported by relative high US yields and a stronger economy compared to most G10 countries. However, a lot of USD strength is already priced in, and the market is becoming more sensitive to weaker labor market or inflation data. The dollar remains strong, but the upside is less clean than before. That's like that support the text overall, because we saw this nice push to the upside. Um, we're still strong, but we are a bit weaker, a bit less aggressive to the upside. That shows us the consolidation over here. But overall, the bias on the fundamental side is slightly bullish. It's more bullish than bearish at the moment. The question is, where do we see the bullishness going in the market? And yeah, where is the dollar going? At the moment, I don't like the dollar. It's in a midfield of nowhere, so we kind of wait for the next move and see what the dollar is doing. Next pair is the JPY index. The yen is still structurally weak because of low Japanese interest rates and carry trades, but the market is starting to take BOJ normalization and higher Japanese inflation more seriously. So that creates higher volatility and increases the risk of sudden JPY strength. So that means we are still neutral, like the chart is showing us, a strong impulse over here, then a slow retrace. So we peaked up every time. We peaked up here, we picked up here, we picked up here, here, and then here, 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 and here again. The question is this healthy? And on my opinion, we see this big wick here, this wick here, this wick here, and this wick here, and smaller wicks here. So on the left, we see bigger wicks. So that means we went up high and instant reversed. And that happened all the time. So the sellers sell the market every time it pushed up. But we are slowing down. And for me, that's That's a sign that we might see some big moves in the future or in a few days, maybe with some new data. Um, and I think we could recover here to the upside again. Yeah, I know the bears are strong because we push the markets down every time, but when we don't see a huge wick in the past, like here or here, these are not huge wicks to the upside. We still got rejected, that's clear, but the down impulse after that is not aggressive. It's a slow and steady move to the downside. So I think the bears might switching to the bullish side. The question is where, the question is when. But I think the OPY could recover, but we need to see the data. At the moment, nothing on here. Okay, we go to the USD pairs. First pair is USD JPY. Like I said, the USD is more bullish or is strong at the moment, more strong than weak. That is what we see on the chart. We see bullish momentum. Of course, it is because the dollar is bullish and the yen was a bit bearish over the last days or weeks. So USD JPY moved up. But I think when the yen starting to recover and going up, we could see a big sell-off to the downside. Yeah. But it remains on the dollar too, so the dollar could push up higher. But when we look at the dollar, it could happen that we want to see one more push to the downside and then the move up. So there's still room to go down on USD JPY for me. But at the moment, I don't want to trade it because we're in a big supply over here. So nothing here. Maybe when we break, yeah, some lows, maybe when we break this low, then we could see the market structure shift, a little retracement, and then more push to the downsides. But only then I want to see or I want to look for shorts. USD CHF. That is more like, or we switching to the euro. I think it's better when we go over the USD one time. So I explain the fundamental and the chart. Then we go over the euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, NZD USD. That we have all the currencies and knowing what the fundamental side is doing, and then going over the other pairs on the currency. So the next pair is Euro USD. The euro is benefiting from the fact that Europe is stabilizing and not weakening as much as expected. The ECB policy is still relatively restrictive because inflation remains sticky. The market was too bearish on Europe before, which is now creating positive repricing for the euro. So for me, the euro is bullish. The euro is clear bullish. The question is, when the dollar is bullish and the euro is bullish, we have nothing to see or nothing to move here. Then we might see a long consolidation. But when the euro is getting stronger, we could see some upside potential. But when the dollar is gonna be strong, we see some downside momentum. So at the moment, we are still in the impulse up. This is still a valid change of character for me. And we are still in the 4-hour demand over here. We could say, okay, that's the overall big demand and we're still in this. But I take the last impulse, which broke a high point, and this was a high. We didn't broke it here, so we broke it here. So for me, this is the valid impulse to the downside before the valid retrace. So this is my valid demand zone, and we tapped it, and now moving a bit sideways and looking for more price action or more fundamental fundamental data. So for me personally, nothing to trade here. We could go up higher, sweep this liquidity, sweep this, or sweep this. We could go lower, sweep these descending lows. So we just need to wait. GBP USD. The GBP remains fundamentally strong because the UK inflation is still elevated and the BOE stays relatively hawkish. But GBP longs are becoming crowded, especially against the JPY. The pound still has bullish momentum, but the market is more vulnerable to sharp reversals now. So we're still bullish on the JPY, on the British pound, but it's more risky. So we could see some downsides if some bearish data is coming in. So the momentum is still bullish at the moment, but we need to see what the BOE is doing and yeah, where GBP goes. So at the moment we have a bullish leg to the upside. We are still bullish on the weekly, still bullish on the daily for me because this was the last impulse. We broke that high over here. So we are still in this leg. So this is the protected low. This is the protected high. And this is just a liquidity sweep over here. So this is just a sweep. And then we could see market social shift to the upside, retrace over here, and then continuation to the upside would be valid. But we need to see what the market is doing at the moment. We see some lows over here. I think we will take them out. Bare minimum to this liquidity over here, and then maybe see some longs. But at the moment, I wouldn't trade it because we are between liquidity points and we are between demand and supply. So yeah, nothing to trade here. That's the demand. That's the latest supply. So it doesn't make sense to trade it. AUD USD. AUD USD is on the charts still on the monthly. We're still a bit more. We're still bearish. Like we had an auto flow switch on market structure shift over here. But we didn't saw a good retrace overall. No liquidity taken out on the higher time frames. The daily is very high. We took out the overall liquidity. No, we didn't. We didn't. So there would I have an eye on that liquidity. So we might gonna see a sweep of that liquidity before we going down. So the impulse to the upside is still bullish or is still there. And I think this was just a liquidity sweep. The question is, do we see a liquidity sweep of some more lows over here and this low over here? Why I didn't mark this one up, because this is a rollover candle. So that doesn't count for me as liquidity, so I marked this liquidity low over here. So at the moment, we are bullish on the higher time frames. The 4-hour time frame switched the momentum a little bit for me, but we are still consolidating between these highs and these lows. So yeah, nothing for me here. I just for the visualization, I placed this trade over here. It could go that way. We could see one more high pullout and then impulse to the downside to take liquidity, but I wouldn't stick to that. Only my opinion, of course. The NZD USD, the NZD is recently gained strength after the RBNC delivered a more hawkish tone than the market expected. Traders were positioned too dourishly, which caused strong repricing higher. NZD now has better momentum, but the market will need stronger future data to maintain the rally. So that means the RBNC is a little bit switching to the bullish side on the data because the had a lack of strength. So we weakened a lot over the last days and weeks, and we got some new data at the morning, and I was in this NZD position, and yeah, this NZD position hit my TP over, I think, here or here. So good trade for me there, but I could easily hold it to like a 1 to 5 because the NZD or the RBNC was hawkish. Yeah, I think we didn't. We can look it up. I think we weren't bullish on the data. Nah, the official cash rate was the same, but the same is still bullish on that one because we did nothing now, but in turn, I think they decided to maybe, yeah, make more bullish momentum for the NZD because it's too weak, like positioned more dowishly. So, or they were positioned more dowishly, and now we got some reprices. Yeah, the chart moved up. So like NZD USD, and NZD USD is for me the only pair which could be a bullish buy to higher prices, like liquidity over here or liquidity over here. We tapped that daily demand over here, swept liquidity on the leg to the upside. Perfect. Then oh, we saw the market structure shift over here again, so we're still bullish in the internal leg. And now I waited for a liquidity sweep. And the thing is, and the problem with that chart, the only problem is we didn't got it. We didn't got the liquidity sweep, and that's a huge problem. And this one is a kind of rollover candle. Maybe set the liquidity to here, and this liquidity is not taken out. That's the only problem. So we still have this open liquidity and this open liquidity over here. So, and the demand open here. We don't need to tap this, but it could happen. So we need to be cautious and waiting for more confirmation to the upside. This market structure shift is a strong one. The daily closed above this marked line for hour 2. For me, this is like the leg up, just a consolidation. No break of structure. We did we break a break? Did we make a break of structure over here? Yeah, we did. Okay, then this was a bullish impulse, and then we made another break to the upside again. So I'm waiting for the retrace to take out a lower time frame liquidity. We see some nice descending lows, and the minimum or the minimum target is this dotted line over here. That's my minimum target area before I look for buys. Yeah, so just waiting and hope we can see the takeout and then some confirmation for the upside and see what the data is doing. Yes, then we can go over some CAT or CHF. The CAT is weakening because Canadian growth and labor market data are slowing down while the BOC becomes more dovish. The market is increasingly pricing in a weaker economic momentum. The CAT also remains heavily dependent on oil prices and overall risk sentiment. So the CAT bias for me is bearish. That will lead us on this CAD-JPY to see more downside pricings. But the question is, do we see it now? Do we take out some highs? It all depends on the JPY data and of course the CAD data, but the JPY data is very important for this one. Also on the cat ch Jeff, we see nice push to the downside into the 4-hour demand zone, taking out this liquidity over here and this liquidity over here. So good one for that. We still have enough liquidity on the upside, this one, and this one, and of course this one. So there is upside potential, but it depends on the cat and the CHF. Not my favorite pair. I marked this trade up. Um, I I maybe see this trade, but we need confirmation in the zone because this one is liquidity for me and this one too, and I want to see the deepest point of liquidity. Plus there is the overall demand, and then see a reaction to the upside again. We come to the CHJF. Only have this pair on this currency. The CHJF stays strong because of safe haven demand and defensive market positioning, but the risk of SNB intervention is slowly increasing if the Swiss franc becomes too strong again. Short-term CHF strength remains likely while medium-term intervention risk is growing. So the bias short-term is bullish, the medium-term is neutral or more maybe bearish. So for now we are still strong. I mean, we saw when we look at the weekly chart, we see some insane push of this pair because, of course, because of the JPY bearish momentum. But when we look at AUD JPY, we see not an aggressive push like here. That's because the CHF was extremely strong and we are extremely up, we are extremely high on the monthly and on the weekly, like overbought as hell. And that could lead us to more momentum to the downside to finally take out some sort of liquidity. I mean, look at this channel over here. There's so much liquidity, and for me, the final point would be this liquidity for the moment. So if we're gonna start to sell off, I think we will see this liquidity. And the overall point is why I think this could sell off is because the JPY could recover a little bit and going up. So this one would go down. And if the CHF will switch to the bearish side, we could see a extreme push to the downside. So this one could be a nice sell-off. For me personally, at the moment we are still bullish, but we could be ready to sell it off. Where we tapped the supply, got this liquidity out, and some more over here, some more over here. So liquidity is out, so we could see a sell-off here, but it depends on the currencies. Okay, now we talked all about all currencies. If my bias is bullish bearish, so just a quick reminder, the USD is for me slightly bullish at the moment, and for the future, the yen is for now a little bit neutral, slightly bullish because of some recovery, or maybe we get some recovery, it depends. The euro for me is bullish, the GBP for me is bullish too, but it's a bit riskier. The AUD for me is bullish, the NZD is now again bullish. We need more data, but at the moment we have stronger prices, repricings higher. The CAD for me is more bearish, and the CHF for me is at the moment bullish, but it could switch to the bearish side. We need to see the SNB intervention. So yeah, going over the pairs, USD CHF is still weakened. We are still bearish on that one. Weekly still bearish. Nothing switched here. Daily still bearish. 4 hour still bearish. we are in an impulse up, but for me that's only a retrace. We might want to take some more liquidity, but it's a very unclear clear chart. So I would wait for some movements. When the dollar is extremely pushing, we could see some more prices higher. And when we see the CHF falling, we could also see a nice push to the upside to maybe switch the order for bullish for the moment, because we see we have so much liquidity over here. Like, these are some nice descending highs, and we got some more here or overall here. So I think we could see some bias to the upside maybe. But at the moment we are bearish. I don't want to look for a short because it's too risky. We might get a strong USD and weak CHF, and that would not lead to a short. USD CAD moved up. We saw a strong impulse, a strong retracement, and another strong impulse. From the fundamental side, the dollar is strong, the CAD is weak, so that's why we are pushing up and pushing up. We created this demand zone. So we need to look what we are doing in here. For me personally, we need to sweep liquidity, so some lows of this impulse need to be taken out. The minimum would be the 50% that I want to go in, tapping the yearly level 50%, and then maybe going to the upside again. But we could easily go further up to take some more liquidity. So yeah. USD SEK, I just have having this pair in. I don't know why I just have the pair in, because of it's interesting. I don't have infos about the SEC, but I can look it up for you. The SEK, like the Swedish krone, remains relatively weak because Sweden's economy is still struggling with slow growth and a weak housing sector. Inflation has cooled significantly, allowing the risks bank to become more dovish over time. However, the SEK is already heavily undervalued, which creates potential for recovery if the European growth and global risk sentiment improve. So the bias for the moment is neutral, slightly bullish, but we have a recovery potential from very weak levels. So at the moment we are bullish on the SEC. That's why we got this impulse to the downside, and I would like the switch to the upside or the potential for a week for a recovery, because this one looks I think this one looks really clear. Like, we are still in a impulse to the downside, we are still bearish, but internal we switch to the upside. Then this is the impulse. We swept liquidity, liquidity, and liquidity. So 3 times liquidity. And then we went up again, broke some structure internally. So this one is for me at the moment bullish. We are between the demand and the supply. That's the only problem. But this impulse to the downside is not that aggressive, so it's very slow. We see consolidation, drop, consolidation, drop, consolidation, drop, consolidation, maybe one more drop and then push higher. I think we are good to go long, maybe there in the future. We have one more liquidity low here, but I think we could see a bullish momentum from here. Maybe trading this, but I don't know. At the moment, I wouldn't. I would wait, but it could be a nice trade if you wanna say, okay, internally we are long, and yeah, maybe we will recover on the SEC. Euro USD we talked about. Euro JPY. That's a tough one. That's a very tough one for me. We have this last supply. I think, or the point for me is, I think we will tap it first before we go down. So at the moment, internal, we are bullish. Like we see here, we broke the structure over here. So we maybe see some push to the downside, take liquidity. I think this one here is for me the first demand that should hold or could hold. More like could hold, not should hold, because this out of this demand we got this break of the high. So for me a good one would be take out this liquidity, this and this, and then from here push in the supply over here and then dumping to the downside. So that would be my favorite scenario over here. Euro CHF, and that's a tough one because we see the extremely weak Euro CHF, and that's a problem. That's a problem for the euro. That's a big problem overall. The euro won't see, they don't like to see this, that this is so weak. So I can think, or I think we might wanna see some upside on this one, especially when we have a bearish CHF maybe in the future, and then the euro becomes stronger. For me, we see this is the first demand, which should hold because we overall closed above this one out of the impulse here. So this one is the first demand which I looking at, and we tapped in and pushed out of it. Was a good push for me. The weekly is a good one. It's a trade for maybe not that week, but for next week. I want to see more downside, this, and this liquidity taken out, and maybe the extreme liquidity, but I don't want to go with that at the moment. Just want to see a push to the downside and then to the upside again would be a nice one. Euro CAD is bullish. We said that the CAD is at the moment bearish on the fundamental side. That remains on a bullish Euro CAD. The euro is bullish, the CAD is bearish, so that's why we moved up that impulse, or like aggressively, very aggressively. So for now, nothing to trade. We have some sort of liquidity left behind, so we need a retrace to take that and then go up again. I would like to see this one taken out, maybe this one, and then out of the demand going up, something like that. Euro GBP, that's a tough one because look at this price action. I mean, we went down on the trend line, then we broke the trend line and instantly reversed to the downside, took out the low of the liquidity. So that's a surprising pair every time. That one looks awful, by the way. It looks like a mountain shape, but I don't like it. For the moment, I think we could see more bullish price action because I think the euro is more bullish than the GBP. So if the GBP is weakened and the euro is staying that bullish or more slightly bullish, we could see more potential for the upside. But same here, we need liquidity over here and here for push to the upside again. Euro AUD, that's also a tough one, and I would like to buy this up. The thing is, yes, the AUD is bullish, but positionings getting crowded. So the thing is, it could be that we see some weakening on the AUD because we saw a lot of strength on the AUD pairs over the last month. Like over here, the last month were peak, and also this one, and also this one. That one We talk about that one later. But we see a lot of weakening on the AUD at the moment, and saw real bullishness on the last month. So I think we could recover. And when the euro is staying strong, like I would think the euro is strong, then we might see this one going up. And I would love it. Why I would love it? Because when we look at the bigger picture, the daily chart, we see we are clear bullish. We are still in a bullish impulse. This one is a strong low. We didn't close under it, so we're still in the internal leg. Internal leg, internal leg, internal leg, and that down impulse is still internally. So still bullish on that pair. We took out we took out the we took out the extreme liquidity, like the last liquidity we have, and pumped instantly up to the upside. So that's a strong one. Now we tapped the liquidity again and didn't move up that fast. But it could be that that was a manipulation or like more like a data push to the upside, but the real data isn't there. So that was just a recovery from the AUD strength. Then we went in the normal direction, like it should, like the AUD is strong, so we're going down here. But now we're switching again on to the downside on the AUD maybe. So we saw higher time frame, still bullish. Lower time frame, we didn't switch the order flow on the higher time frame. I see. I missed that, so we didn't close below this. So this bullish leg is still intact. We are still bullish, just extremely low retrace. And on the 4 hour, we clearly see that this is our big demand zone. We are in it. We tapped the liquidities over here. We like we took out all the liquidity in these lows, tapped the fair value gap, tapped also, yeah, it's more like a smaller demand, I would say. And now we moved up again, and we did took out the liquidity with these lows, so liquidity taken, and then market structure shift. For me, that's a valid impulse to the upside. And now I want to see the retrace, but this one could be a trade for the next days. Just wait for some more movement to the downside, maybe take out some liquidity. The best form of taking out the liquidity would be this one. So like take out the liquidity and then start looking for some long positions. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. We need the data to come out again and to see what is happening. When we look at the AUD data, it came out weak. That's why. We got the CPI weak. We got the monthly, the yearly is weak too. Trimmed mean CPI is like even, but the datas weren't good. And I think we will see more weakness on the AUD. So that one is a good one. Yeah, what should I say? Euro NZD. I mean, we discussed it. The NZD is switching to the bullish side. So yeah, we saw weakening on the NZD, on the XXX NZD pairs. So that one, yeah, dumped into hell today. Like, look at that daily candle. For me, this is a big, big bearish candle on the daily. And for me, I think personally, we might wanna see, or we might gonna see this low taken out. That's still a strong low over there, but I think like that scenario could happen. Some sort of retraces and then dumping to the downside if the data stays bullish on the NZD. We're also having some highs that didn't got taken out, so yeah, it's still interesting what we're doing here because the highs not taken out, the lows, yeah, one low is taken out, but yeah, it's still moving more like sideways. But for me, this scenario would be more possible, like the same on the fundamental side. When if the entity is switching to the bullish momentum again, we could see the impulse to the downside on this pair. We discussed this. We discussed this. No, we didn't. Same on here as Euro USD, Euro JPY. For me, that supply must be tapped. At the moment, we are in a bullish leg up. We could trade. We could trade this zone over here. Like we could trade it like here, tap the demand, and then TP on the supply over there. There could be a nice trade because the internal trend at the moment is clear bullish, and on the 1 hour there is liquidity taken out and another break to the downside and then up. So that one could be a nice one, but we want to see more price action. GBP CHF, that one is a tough one too. I think that one is gonna be bearish for the moment. The CHF is still strong. Yes, I want to see it weak, but at the moment the reality is we are still strong. And the GBP is strong but risky. So if we see one more CHF push to the upside, we see a nice retracement to the downside here, maybe taking out this major liquidity over here. I will really want to see this liquidity over here before we going up, and after that we might gonna go up. That one could be a good long too, but that one is liquidity left behind. So yeah, I think we might want to see some, or we're gonna see some shorts before we see the longs. GBP CAD, same as Euro CAD. Yeah, CAD is bearish. GBP was a bit more bullish. So yeah, we went up. Nothing over here. We could hit up higher. We could retrace to some yearly, monthly levels to the liquidity over here. So nothing for me. GBP AUD, interesting. GBP AUD looks like GBP CHF. I mean, yeah. I mean, we are slightly bullish on the monthly, I would say. The weekly external still bullish, internal bearish. But for me, the liquidity down here is a must-have. So I think this liquidity will be taken out soon. So I want to see bearish price action over there. Same as Euro AUD, we could see some downside momentum over here to take out that liquidity. So I hope that GBP is going to be bearish. That one is bearish. It's the same as AUD entity. We didn't sweep the highs over here. We swept the high over here. That's one more than uh, Euro entity, and we swept the rollover candle over here and some liquidity over here. So yeah, that one was a tough one. I didn't took this trade. I didn't take this trade, but yeah, I marked it up and it worked out perfectly. But yeah, we forget about this. That one is clear bearish for me at the moment. Supplies and control. Switch to the bearish order flow because we closed under here. New supply is created. When we switch to the 1 hour, the supply is created. So I want to look at the 1 hour supply. Looking for liquidity. We see nothing. So we see liquidity here situated. So I want to see a leg up, taking the liquidity and then dump. That is my favor on that one. AUD USD we talked about. AUD JPY we talk nothing for me. Yes, We swept the high over here, then dumped to the downside, but the overall higher time frame is still remaining bullish. So I didn't want to short it at the moment because no confirmation, just staying out of the market. Yeah, nothing from me. Yeah, AD CHF was a good pair. We discussed it in the last outlook, what I did over here, but that is the past, and it is a strong low, which that doesn't count, it's a rollover, which is still protected. It is still a protected low. That's crazy. So we're still bullish, yes, but that pair is very ugly. We're just consolidating in this range. That is the overall support, that is the overall resistance area. So just bouncing between, just waiting. AUD CAD is a good one. The AUD was strong, or is still more strong than weak. And the CAD is super bearish, like I discussed on EuroCAD and GBP CAD. So that's why we pushed up that fast. But the problem with that is the only liquidity we got taken out is that one. So I think we will see more retracements into here or here, and then moving up from there would be a nice trade maybe. AUD NZD is bro, it's horrific. It's I don't know. I don't have words for that. I think I don't know if I talked about it in the last outlook, but I think I said I had this trend line too, and I think I said we got these highs. I think I said it on a daily. We have all these highs which are not getting stronger, like we're not pushing up the crazy, and we're having that divergence on the RSI on the daily. And I think I said it in the last outlook. Maybe you can look it up. And it exactly what I said. We are on the weekly too are really overbought, and we are starting to weaken in the push to the upside. So the momentum, the volume is lagging behind. And I think that's what I said too in the last outlook. The volume is going down. So what we saw now is we saw one more push to the upside, and then we saw an instant dump because of the NZD news, of course. But the chart was too high. So for me, that is a good market structure shift. Could also be a liquidity sweep, but for me, this candle clearly closed below the last leg up. The last leg up was this one, so it started here and we closed below. That for me is a clear change of character, market structure shift. So the next realistic thing would be an impulse to the upside, taking out liquidity and filling maybe some gaps, and then starting to sell off again. NZD USD we talked about, NZD JPY we talked about too. I said I took this trade. Yeah, it will tap that, I think, that liquidity over there, and we might want to see then a retrace and impulse to the upside, or we see a tap of the liquidity and then start to sell off when the JPY is recovering. NZD CHF is a tough one. I like that a lot. We're still bearish on the higher time frames, of course, but I think we could recover from the strong sell-off on the higher time frames, and I think we could now take out that major liquidity point over here. There's so much liquidity over there, and on the lower time frames, or in the lower time frames, it's not a lower time frame, but yeah, you know what I mean. We took out much liquidity over here, over here, over here, over here, and then we start to buy up. And we, like I marked up here, we closed on the daily above this line. So this for me is a market structure shift, a change of character for some of you. And now I want to see a nice retrace and then the continuation. NZT cat is like the same. The cat is super weak. The NZT is strengthened. So that one would be a perfect trade if we get some retraces to the 50% level. It's more like up here to the 50% level and the lower time frame liquidity over here. That would be a nice trade. Catch up PY, we talked about this. It's open, what we do there. Cat CHF, we talked about it too, and that one we talked about it too. So the last one is gold. It's hard. It's a hard patient, bro. It's a hard one. We are, of course, still bullish on the higher time frames, but I don't like the lower time frame structure. We are bearish on the low time frame structure and we took out major liquidity. We still have opened equal lows and another liquidity point over there. So we could see another leg to the downside again, I think. The question is from where? And for me, this is the supply I want to look at. So I want to wait for some more development to the upside to take out this liquidity level. There we can delete it, we can delete too. And then from here, maybe starting to sell off to the downside, to the next liquidity point or to the low here then. Silver is the same, still bullish structure, but we see more bearish price action at the moment. I don't like these lows here, so I think we could easily take these lows out and these descending lows too. So the overall target would be this liquidity down here. The question is, do we see another leg to the upside, or could we maybe see the sell-off from here? So if we look at the 1 hour time frame, we maybe can see that supply going in the supply and then dropping. Could be a nice one, but we need to see. Yes, and that's it. That's a long one, like over 50 minutes again. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. I hope these videos are value for you. Um, one more sentence. It's just an opinion from me. So make your own analysis, make your own researches on the fundamentals, on the charts. So that's only my view, and it's not an advice for you to take these trades to trade like me or to put money in some trades where I said they are good. So take your own take your own trades. Be patient in the market and stay interested and stay patient. See you soon. Bye bye.